fifth graders, it's Mrs. Trombley. This is for any of you that missed the Zoom whole group or small group for Monday, November 30th. So I'm just gonna walk you through what we did today. The first thing we did, well, we did good things, so you can tell someone at home a good thing. I won't be able to hear you if you say it to me now. And then we had our number talk. And for our number talk today, the first problem I did was 1/2 plus 8/14. Now this will be a little bit different than a regular old number talk. I'm going to kind of share with you the strategy that we came up with and show you all three problems that we did. So we had talked last week about the fact that 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1/2. And I see 1/2 here. Now 8/14, a strategy that we could use instead of changing denominators is, let's look at this 8/14 and ask ourselves how many 14ths would make a half, because I know a half plus a half is a whole, right? So I could use 7/14 to make a half, and I'd still have 1/14 left. So really we just broke 8/14 up into 7/14 plus 1/14. Now I can just look at this and say, okay, well 1/2 plus 7/14 equals 1, right? Because a half plus a half. Then we still have this 1/14 left. So 1 and 1/14. So a quick little strategy is to use that number sense about halves. All right, the next one we did was 4/8 plus 7/12. If you want, you can pause me and try this. Try to do it in your head though, because it's a number talk, so I don't want you to use anything to write it out. It's a little different. All right, welcome back. 4/8 is equal to 1/2, right? So if we use the same strategy as we did before, we can think about this 7/12 as 6/12, because that's a half, plus 1 extra 12, right? So the 4/8 and the 6/12, when you put them together, would equal 1, and then we'd have this extra 1/12. So we could say 1 and 1/12. And we did one more, just to bring it home. We had 3/6 plus 8/14. Again, you can pause and see if you can figure this one out in your head. I know that 3/6 is a half, and when I look at 8/14, I know that 7/14 of that makes a half. And if you add the 3/6 and the 7/14, you're gonna get 1, because a half plus a half is a whole. But there was still 1/14 left here, right? We broke the 8/14 up into 7/14 and 1/14. So 1 and 1/14. And again, like, the goal of this is to be able to do it in your head. I know I have a lot of things written out, but it would be super cool just to look at this and be like, oh, well, 1/2 plus 7/14, that's 1 left over, 1 and 1/14. Like, we should be able to do it that fast. And I'm sure we'll be able to by the end of the week after we keep doing these over and over and over again. All right, well, that was our number talk. And from there, in our small groups, we did workbook page 26. So you're gonna want to get out your workbook page packet. Sorry, my music just started playing here. Get out your workbook page packet, and you're gonna open that up to 26. Mine is in black and white because I had to run a copy of it. So yours is very pretty. Yours will look much nicer. But we're gonna work through these problems together. And by the end of this, you should have your whole page filled with things too. You're not just writing answers to this, you should be writing all of the steps right along with it. And again, at any time you can pause and try to work through the problems as long as you come back and double check that you have the answers right. All right, it says to write an equation, then solve it. When possible, express your answer as a whole or mixed number. That means nothing improper, please. Dora the elephant used to eat 2 3/4 tons of food each month. Each day, that would have been a lot. Now she's on a diet, and she only eats 1 7/8 tons. How many tons was Dora's food decreased by each month? So we have to figure out, what are we gonna do with these numbers? If I wanna know how much it decreased by, I definitely don't wanna add those together because I'll get a number bigger than what we started with. So subtraction would be key. I'm gonna write an equation on the line. It's gonna be 2 3/4 minus 1 7/8. Now I see right away that my denominators don't match, so I'm gonna rewrite this equation over on the side here because I know I have some work to do. 2 3/4 minus 1 7/8. Okay, step 1, we definitely need a common denominator if we want to subtract these. And I notice that 4 times 2 is 8. And yes, I know that I could do times 8 over 8 and times 4 over 4, but then I'd have a denominator of 32. Show me what wonderful number sense that you have. Multiply 3/4 by 2 over 2 because the least common multiple is 8, not 32. So my new fraction that I'm working with here is 2 and 6/8 minus 1 and 7/8. Now you might be thinking, oh sweet, 6 minus 7 is 1 and it's 1 1/8, but 6 minus 7 is not 1. I can't take 7 away from 6, so I have to borrow. I'm gonna borrow 8/8 from this 2. Now I need to put this together. So my new fraction here would be 1 and 6 plus 8 is 14. 8 stays the same. Minus 1 and 7/8. And now we can actually subtract. 14 minus 7 is 7. My 8 never changes. And 1 minus 1 is 0, but I don't need to write a 0 there, right? I wouldn't write 0 and 7/8, so I just write 7/8. So I'm gonna write that over here, and the unit is tons. Or I would just say ton because 7/8 is less than a ton, so I don't need to make that plural. 7/8 of a ton. All right, next one, still talking about elephants. This whole page is all about elephants. Daisy the elephant can reach a branch 10 5/6 feet off the ground. Leroy, the tallest elephant, can reach a branch 1.5 feet higher than this. How high can Leroy reach? So we have to figure out what to do with these numbers here. If it says that Daisy can reach 10 5/6 and Leroy can reach a branch that's higher than that, subtraction wouldn't be the answer because I need an answer higher than that. So we should add. So 10 5/6 plus 1.5. And again, I noticed those denominators don't match, so let's make them match. I'm gonna write 10 5/6 plus 1.5 along the side. And I know what you're thinking. You want to plug and chug it, and you want to multiply 5/6 by 2 over 2 and 1/2 by 6 over 6, but don't do it. Please don't do it. Take the shortcut. Show me that you know the LCM of this is 6, and I can multiply 2 by 3 to get that. You only need to multiply one of those fractions. So I would have 10 5/6 plus 1 3/6. Now we're on our way. 5 plus 3 is 8, so I have 8/6, and 10 plus 1 is 11. And I wish I could say we were done, but we're not because 8/6 is improper. So I need to write this 8/6 as a mixed number, which I can pull one whole out of that. 6/6 is one whole. And then to get from 6/6 to 8/6, I would need 2 more sixths. So that's equal to 1 2/6. So my actual answer is 11 plus 1, which is 12 2/6. Now this is an okay answer, but when you look at 2/6, if you actually look at your fraction bar diagram and follow it up, you're gonna see that 1/3 is actually a simpler way to say that. Sorry, I did not mean to hit my phone there. Let's get this situated. There we go. 2/6 is actually equal to 1/3. This is because they are both divisible by 2. So instead of saying 12 2/6, I can say 12 1/3, and it's feet is my unit. So 12 2/6 isn't wrong for the beginning of 5th grade, but 12 1/3 is the best way to say it, so of course I want you to say it the best way. All right, next, Speedy, the fastest elephant, can run 25 1/10 miles per hour. Squirt can only run 10 3/5 miles per hour. How many fewer miles can Squirt run in an hour than Speedy? So we want to know how many fewer miles. That means my answer should be less than that, which means I should subtract these values. So we're going to take 25 1/10 minus 10 3/5. And again, we can't just subtract. We can't do it because my denominators do not match. So I'm going to rewrite this 25 1/10 minus 10 3/5. All right, don't multiply them both. 5 times 2 is 10. Always ask yourself, what's the LCM? Okay, so 25 1/10 gets to stay the same, minus my 10 stays the same, but now 3/5 I'm going to write as 3 times 2 is 6/10. And I don't know if you saw the 6 on the bottom and we're like, man, every single one of these is extra work. You know, it's only 3 of them, but I have to give you all these to make sure you know how to do them. I need to borrow. I need to borrow from the 25. It's now going to be 24. I'm borrowing 10/10. 10/10 plus 1/10 is 11/10. So I'm just going to sneak that 1 in there right now. 11 minus 6 is 5. My denominator stays the same. Oh, I can't stand it. 5/10. You know it's 1/2. We'll get there in a minute. 24 minus 10 is 14. But instead of writing 14 and 5/10 on the line, I'm going to write 14 and a half because 5/10 is equal to 1/2. And this is miles per hour. It says how many fewer miles, so 14 and a half miles. All right, last but not least, we have to use some reasoning. Name all the possible pairs. The truck that carries the elephants holds 10 tons. Which two elephants could travel together in the trunk? Now, there's more than just one pair here. And when you're given a problem like this, wanting to know like which pairs can go, a good strategy to use is to start with the top and compare it to each one. And then you're done with that. And then we do the next one and compare down. And the next one and compare down. And the next one and compare down. You're going to have something similar to this later this week for an assignment. So I want to make sure that you know how to do it. All right, so 10 tons is the max that this can hold. So we can have elephants that exactly weigh 10 tons together or less than 10 tons, but we can't have more than 10 tons because that's all this truck can carry. We can actually solve all of these without doing any written out math problems. That's what it means by we're just going to use our fractional reasoning here. So let's start with Dora. I want to know if Dora and Leroy can go together. And right off the bat, I know that they can't without solving any problem written out because 5 plus 6 is 11. And that's too much. So no Dora and Leroy. Now let's see about Dora and Daisy. Dora and Daisy is a maybe. 5 plus 4 is 9, right? But 3/4 and 2/3. Now you could go ahead and write out 3/4 plus 2/3 and get a common denominator and do all that. But we just talked in our number talk about the fact that 1/2 plus 1/2 is a whole, right? So 3/4, is that more than a half, less than a half, equal to a half? That's more than a half, right? 2/3, that's more than a half. 2/4 would be a half, right? But 2/3 would be more than a half because thirds are going to be bigger pieces than fourths. So if I know 5 plus 4 is 9, and I know that I have two fractions that are greater than a half, when I add those two together, I'm going to get something more than 1, which means 9 plus more than 1. So Dora and Daisy, sorry, they can't go together. Even though they're besties, they don't get to go. It's so sad. All right, what about Speedy? When I look at Dora and Speedy, I see 5 plus 5 is 10, and I know the answer is no because I still have this extra 3/4 and 2/3. What about Squirt? Dora, 5, Squirt, 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8. I know that 3/4 plus 2/3 is going to give me more than 1, but it's not going to give me more than 2. So Dora and Squirt can go together. Dora and Squirt. So now we've done Dora. Now we're going to do the same process, but we can ignore Dora because we already went through her and go down. So Leroy and Daisy can't go together because 6 plus 4 is 10, and there's extras. Leroy and Speedy can't go together because 6 plus 5 is 11, so I know right off the bat it's a no. Leroy and Squirt might be able to. 6 plus 3 is 9. Then I have a half plus 2/3. Now didn't we say that 2/3 was more than a half? So if I take half plus more than a half, aren't I going to get more than 1? That means poor Leroy doesn't get to go with anybody. He's going to have to go by himself. Maybe not poor Leroy. Maybe he enjoys being alone. Get some alone time. Alone time, I don't know. Alone time. Okay, now we're in Daisy. So Daisy, 4 and 2/3 tons, 4 plus 5, that's 9. And now 2/3 is greater than a half, and 2/3 is greater than a half. So I'd end up taking 9 plus something greater than 1. So Daisy and Speedy can't go. But Daisy and Squirt, 4 plus 3 is 7. And then, okay, yeah, that's going to be more than 1 when I add it, but not going to be more than 3. So Daisy and Squirt can go together. Daisy and Squirt. Now all that's left is to look at Speedy and Squirt and see if they can go together. Well, 5 plus 3 is 8. That means I have 2 to play with. Well, 1 plus 1 is 2, and these are both less than 1. So yes, Speedy and Squirt can also go together. Speedy and Squirt. All right, so if you missed the Zoom, the whole group Zoom, or you missed your small group today, after completing this, you will be all caught up. See you tomorrow.